Saw 3 is a 2006 horror film that is the third in the now trilogy of Saw films. It is once again directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, and the plot is we almost follow Amanda, who is the apprentice of Jigsaw. She will take over his work because he will die very soon. We even see that he's on bed rest, he's hooked up to all these monitors. He has maybe hours left. So Amanda kidnaps this Dr. Lynn, and she is forced to keep Jigsaw alive long enough for their other kidnapped person who is going through his own series of tests, this character Jeff. And if Jeff fails to successfully go through his test, then that means Lynn will die as well. Now, what I think of Saw 3 is, I love this movie. I do. I know, at least I think I said that Saw 1, the original, is my favorite Saw film of the whole franchise. If I didn't say it, well, it is. But this is a close second. In fact, if anyone were to tell me that this was their favorite, I wouldn't argue with them. It's hard to argue that point. There's just so much going on in this movie. First, let's start with Donnie Wahlberg's character, because the movie begins with him, Eric Matthews, and we see him locked and chained in that bathroom just like the second film ended. And I like that because not only does it show you exactly what happens, but it makes you think that Eric Matthews is indeed the main character. And when he decides not to cut his foot off with the saw, like Dr. Gordon did, he just snaps his foot off his bone and gets his foot off the chain that way. And that, every time I watch that, I cringe. I don't know if it's because of the sounds or how real it looks, but that gets me every time. But then we cut to Dina Myers as Carrie, who she's been in the first two Saw films in a smaller role, but she's always been there. So to see her, I like Dina Myers, and I wished she would have been the main character, to follow her being guilty about what happened to Eric Matthews, because she kind of brought him into that investigation last movie. And maybe her trying to be the one to solve the case. I would have liked that. I would have liked to follow her, but that's not what happened. She quickly gets kidnapped. The trap that she's in, I guess you can call it the angel trap, because she's strung up on like a cross. Her ribs are being almost held together by this, and she has to dip her hand into this jar of acid in order to get the key. Of course, the trap is rigged to not work, so she ends up dying. Her ribs get completely ripped out, and for you to kill her off, not only early, but in such a brutal fashion. Now, the character Lynn, who, like I said, she's a doctor, and she gets kidnapped by Amanda, and she's forced to try to keep Jigsaw alive. I love, in fact, the scene where she has to perform brain surgery, in a sense, on Jigsaw. She cuts open his head, has to drill open his skull, and she has to cut around his brain to keep the blood flowing. I don't know how they made pretty much everything in this movie look as real as it does, but that scene fascinates me every time. The character Amanda, once again played by Shawnee Smith, man, is she a great actress. I'd say she's one of my favorite things about this film, because she brings it. She's so emotional. She's so crazy, but then at points she's also so caring. She has so many layers to her character. The relationship that she has with Jigsaw and how she looks at him as, I want to say a father figure, but then she gets pretty jealous when she sees him talking to Lynn. She's very suicidal. She's having all of these thoughts and regrets almost, because this is the director's cut. And in the director's cut, there's a whole flashback sequence of her being haunted by Adam's ghost, in a sense. And she goes back to the bathroom, and you see Adam, like, near death, because he's been there for so long. And she kills him. She thinks that this is a much better way for him to go. Instead of just sitting there to rot and die off slow, she kills him quick. And her rationale might make a little bit of sense, but either way, you're killing him. And also, I more than love the scene where the flashback where we see her and Jigsaw, Tobin Bell, set up the bathroom scene from the first movie. I don't know what it is, if it's the score or just the moment of them getting all the pieces together. But what about Jeff? Jeff is another character who was kidnapped, and he's having to go through the series of trials almost, because he's a drunk, he treats his daughter like shit, but it all stems from him losing his son. His son died horrifically in a car accident. This guy hit the son. So he hasn't been the same since, and he holds a lot of resentment and hate for a lot of different people involved with this situation. So he has to basically confront every single one of these people, one by one, whether he's willing to hurt himself in order to save them and forgive them, or if he really truly wants them to die like he says he's wanted. Like the one trap where this girl is in a freezer. She's naked, and she pretty much freezes to death. There's like cold water being sprayed on her. But I call it the Timothy crucifix twisting trap, because Timothy is the one who hit the son. He's the one who Jeff hates the most. So when he comes to him and he, like, certain pieces of the trap, of this guy's body parts are being twisted. And not only is that hard to watch because you're seeing literally his bones breaking out of the skin and he's screaming in pain, there is a part of you who almost at least understands why this is hard for Jeff. You know, as long as he's wanted to see these people die, when he's confronted with it, he can't watch it. And sure, some of the times it takes him a little too fucking long to try to save them. I still understood the struggle he was going through. But that brings me to the twist, because it's not a Saw movie if there's not a twist, right? The test wasn't really for Lynn or really Jeff. Jigsaw was testing Amanda. Jigsaw wanted to make sure that Amanda was the right one to be his apprentice, to take over his work when he died, and she wasn't. Every test, every subject that she's put somebody in, she's rigged it for them to die, and that there was no way for them to get out. And Jigsaw's known this, so he did this one last thing, and she once again couldn't follow the rules. She ends up getting killed because she didn't know that Jeff and Lynn were in fact married. So anything Amanda did to Lynn would affect Jeff's actions. So all of that I loved. I thought it was shocking. I didn't see it coming. And also, maybe one of the more shocking things was the ending where Jeff kills Jigsaw. I mean, I know Jigsaw has cancer and he's on his deathbed in this movie, so you're kind of thinking, well, he's going to die soon. But you didn't think he was going to get murdered. You didn't think a character would be the one to kill him. You just thought he would die from the cancer. And seeing the implications to that and the cliffhanger way that this movie ends on, I always really thought that the Saw movies would have been perfect as just a trilogy, and if this was the last one, it would have been perfect. But you see this ending and you go, fuck, I need to see what happens next. So guys, let me know in the comments below if you've seen Saw 3 Suffering. You haven't seen anything yet. Like and subscribe. Later!